bad shit might happen, but I get to create my life now. I get to create the reality that I want for myself right now. And how much of your time do you spend thinking about other people? Or are you thinking about other people's perception of you? Chances are you're probably just thinking about yourself. The sooner you realize that nobody cares what you're wearing, nobody cares what you're doing, is the sooner you'll be able to just be authentically yourself. What's up, you guys? So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing some of the things that I wish I knew when I was starting my healing journey. These are just some lessons along the way that I've learned that I feel like are helpful to know when you're starting your spiritual journey, when you're starting your self-love journey. The first thing that I've learned is that healing isn't linear. We like to think that our healing journeys are this very defined timeline where you're going to face a problem and solve the problem, or revisit the trauma that you might have experienced and kind of deal with it, and that's gonna be it. But what I have learned is that's just far from the truth. Your healing journey is more like you learn that you had an issue here, and then you try to fix that, but then it comes up again 2 years later. It's very much that you'll be facing the same problems and the same issues over and over again, and that continually putting in the work to heal those areas of your life is gonna be what changes your life and is actually gonna facilitate that healing process. In this journey, healing is multi-layered. We've all seen that picture where it's an iceberg, and at the top part of the iceberg things are very surface level, but as you begin to go deeper, it gets deeper. And that's what my healing journey has been like. One area in my life where this has popped up is my journey with healing my relationship to my sexuality and just my womanhood in general. I found that it started to go beyond just that surface level. It translated into my PCOS, which I found out that I had throughout this process. My confidence, my relationship with myself, my relationship with my partner, the way I viewed my own sexuality. And I've had a lot of different phases of questioning, because when you unpack one thing that comes up for you, it usually is connected to all the other areas in your life. We as humans are just really deep, multifaceted people. On your healing journey, it's gonna be rocky, but you have to trust that you are on the right path and you are on the right journey. And the farther you go internally and are able to work out your problem, the healing will come. I actually had a moment the other day where I went back and looked at some of my YouTube videos from 4 years ago. They're unlisted. I thought it was funny how I was kind of going through the same issues, but at a very much like newbie level, I would say. It was just beyond me and so motivating to see how much growth I have made since then, how I just look at the world completely different. The second thing I have learned is you are more than just your body. It is so easy in this day and age to go on Instagram, go on YouTube, go on TikTok, and see other people who portray that they have their shit together. Their body is snatched, they go to the gym, they eat healthy, they completely fit into society's beauty standard. But I want you to know that comparing yourself to those people is not gonna get you anywhere, and that your physical looks have little to do with your value. And to tie this in with spirituality, you are a spiritual being having a human experience in this body, which means that your body is simply just a physical vessel for you to experience life in. You are not your body. You are more than your body. You are the awareness that occupies the body that you are in. Meaning, when you are having those thoughts come up that compare yourself to other people, I just want you to know that you're not your thought. That voice in your head is not you. You are more than your body. You are more than your physical appearance. You are a person with passion and love and so much to offer outside of your physical appearance. I'm sure that if you had the opportunity to talk about one thing that you love, your love and your passion for talking about that thing would captivate people more than them just admiring your physical appearance. That perspective is one way that I learned not to be attached to my physical body. However, I think that because we were gifted to have this body to experience life, we need to treat it well. And that has been a journey that I have been on over the last 3 years, because I learned that I have PCOS, which essentially is a hormonal imbalance that causes me to have period issues, gain weight faster, just a variety of other things that impact my womanhood. So learning how to really treat my body with care has been a journey that I am not quite perfect at, but I am striving to be. I'm striving to be better because I want to treat my body kindly, because it is a gift. It is a gift for me to have a body that can go outside and take a walk. I believe that it is essential to make sure that you are finding movement, whatever it is, and treating it with kindness in the way that you eat and nourish your body. Not only do I need to treat my body kindly through working out and eating healthy because I'm grateful for the body that I have, but also because I want to live long. I want to have that longevity. I just remind myself that when I'm older, I don't want to have to burden my children with taking care of me or feel like I am not able to do the things that I want because I'm physically incapable of doing it. Not only that, but working out and eating healthy is just really good for your mental health and will help you when you are feeding your body the right fuel and you're moving around so that your body can use that energy. It's going to improve your day-to-day happiness. It's going to balance your energy levels and you're just going to feel really good. So the third thing that I have learned, a lot of your healing journey is about reparenting yourself. What that means is essentially asking yourself what you needed as a kid to be the best version of yourself. It is doing the things that your ideal parent would have done. And maybe you had a really great childhood with great parents, but there are probably still some ways in which you could have had your needs better met. So what this looks like is treating yourself how a really good parent would have treated you. So for example, they would probably make sure that you are being active and moving around, that you are eating well-balanced meals, that you are going to the doctor, engaged in hobbies, that you are learning, that you are learning how to communicate properly, that your emotional needs are being met, that you're being hugged and told that you are loved, that you have a healthy social life, that your creativity is being encouraged. All of those things are aspects that I am trying to reparent myself and rewire some of those neural pathways in my brain where I have created bad habits around just because I didn't have that effort as I was growing up. Reparenting yourself is not all about just like the fluffy things and making sure that you feel really, really good. It's also sometimes about building discipline and having structure, because I know that's something that I missed out on when I was younger. And discipline, sticking to my goals and my routines is so hard for me, and it's something that I'm really, really, really working towards being better about. It looks different based on what you individually need. Maybe reparenting yourself looks like teaching yourself how to have a better financial mindset and a financial relationship. I used to say that physical affection just wasn't one of my love languages, and I just wasn't a touchy person, and I normalized that saying I love you wasn't a common thing. It should kind of just be held for those really special moments. And I realized that was just all because of the conditioning I had growing up. And now that I've started to reparent myself, physical affection has literally become one of my top love languages, and it's one of the ways in which I feel most loved. It was all because I did the work and asked myself, why do I feel like this in the first place? Another thing I wish I knew was that one of the main parts of my healing journey has been about fixing the way that I talk to myself. The voice that you hear that is constantly running its mouth is not who you are. You are the awareness behind that voice that is listening. The voice inside of your head is merely a way that we try to control the world around us. So let's say you have a problem. You're likely going to be overthinking, worrying about it a lot, probably just like automatically going to the negative. Well, I just want you to know that at any point in time, you can decide that that is not you and that you're not going to listen to that voice, because you are not bound by the labels that you place upon yourself. Essentially what I'm saying is, just because you think it doesn't mean you are it. So if your brain is telling you that you're stupid or you're dumb, you don't have to believe it. If the voice inside of you is telling you that you are ugly, you're unattractive, you don't have to believe it. You don't have to make that your reality. Another thing I want to talk about is what you tell yourself, you become. Your brain does not know the difference between reality and what you're thinking. That's why a lot of people are huge advocates for affirmations, for manifestation. When you tell yourself that you're never going to do something, all the cells in your body is like, okay, like she's never going to do it. And so therefore, what you want to do never manifests for yourself. But creating some sort of awareness for when those thoughts do come up allows you to detach from them and to take a step back and realize that just because they came up doesn't mean I have to agree with them. Just because I think that nobody's gonna like me doesn't mean that it's true. I was labeled an introvert and kind of like the weird kid as I was growing up, even by my family members. And when I got into high school, I stopped identifying with that label and really grew into a part of myself that was very confident, extroverted. One thing I loved to do was just make people feel heard and understood. And then when the pandemic rolled around, I kind of lost a lot of my friends in the process of just going from leaving high school into entering college and just moving out on my own. I was spending a lot of time by myself. Because of that, I started to tell my girlfriend and my best friend, yeah, I'm just an introvert. Like, I'm just an introvert again. I really don't like talking to people. I basically grew a lot of social anxiety, which we all did because of the pandemic, but mine was actual social anxiety. I was diagnosed by a therapist. And I really tricked myself into believing that I was not an extrovert, that I did not like being around people, that people didn't like me, that I had nothing to talk about. Just a lot of negative thoughts that 2 years prior, when my mindset was different, I never would have thought about myself. I have had to go through so much unconditioning from just convincing myself that I don't like to be around people. I don't know how to talk to people. I have nothing to talk about. People don't like me. I'm an introvert that doesn't want to be around people. I told myself that story until it became my reality. When that negative shit comes up, tell yourself, it's not true. I am this. One great exercise I've personally been implementing is when I have a negative thought, I automatically rewrite that thought in my head. The first thing that I do is create awareness of that thought. I pick up on it, which is the hardest part. And once you pick up on it, you can rewrite that thought. The next thing that I wish I knew when starting my healing journey is that you're going to have to take a lot of responsibility for your life. Initially, I thought that my spiritual journey, my healing journey, would look like figuring out all the bad parts of my childhood and kind of just communicating and moving on from that. In order for you to move on, you kind of have to take responsibility for the areas in your life in which you're not happy. And what I've learned is that yes, bad shit might happen, but you are responsible for your life right now. It really doesn't apply if you're still living in your parents' house and it's toxic. But in other situations, I just want you to know that you have the power to drop the victim mindset and the victim mentality and realize where you can show up for yourself a little bit better. I like to think of this as, yes, I went through a lot of terrible things that I probably shouldn't have, but I get to create my life now. I get to create the reality that I want for myself right now, and I don't have to let my past stop me. I can decide how I want to live my life, and I can make that happen for myself. One way that this has showed up for me is that for the longest time, I would write out all of these goals that I wanted to have. I wanted to go to the gym. I wanted a good morning routine. I wanted to start my YouTube channel. I wanted to do X, Y, and Z. And it's honestly embarrassing, but I would have the same goals year after year after year. And I would never, ever, ever be consistent with them. I would start and stop, always finding a fucking excuse for why I didn't keep going, or allowing things in my life, situations in my life, people in my life to stop me from embodying the kind of person that I wanted to be. But I realized that was all my fault. I had to take responsibility for the ways in which I wasn't showing up for myself. And when I realized that I have to drop the victim mindset and stop letting life happen to me, I felt so empowered because it really is all up to you. Your life is gonna go exactly how you envision it if you take responsibility, if you work for it. I learned from a mentor that you can't take responsibility for the good in your life if you don't want to take responsibility for the ways in which you fuck up. So I invite you to start asking yourself from the start of your healing journey, how are you showing up for yourself and how are you showing up for others? How are you allowing the stories that you tell yourself to stop you from going after the things that you want? One thing I wish I knew, because I would have started implementing this in my life way earlier had I known, is that nature literally takes away all of your problems. Like, I will go on a walk and not bring any music, not listening to a podcast, nothing, and all of my thoughts are suddenly silenced. A lot of people say that it's quiet outside, but I never feel like that. I feel like there's so much to listen to outside. It's a moment to be present and reconnect with yourself. I feel like a lot of people forget that we are not meant to be inside of our homes 24 hours a day on phone, on the TV, consuming media. We are meant to be outside, playing, exploring, and when you give yourself a minute to connect with the element, you just become the most grounded, happiest, glowiest version of yourself. When it comes to sex and sexuality, the biggest thing that changed my life is working on releasing shame. We grow up with so much stigma and misogynistic beliefs about sex and sexuality, and we internalize that, and as a result, we build up a lot of shame, a lot of guilt around pleasure. And for me, releasing that shame and allowing myself to feel liberated by my sexuality and liberated by experiencing pleasure, one of the first things that I did was ask myself, why do I feel shame? And really break it down, asking myself specifically to identify those memories that stuck with me about sex. Kind of condition my view, allowed me to deconstruct all the negative beliefs around my sexuality. I grew up with a lot of homophobia, so as I was having my first sexual experiences in my queer relationships, I felt that internalized self-hatred come up a lot. I felt those beliefs come up a lot and really stopped me from being able to explore myself to the fullest. So when I started to unpack and do the shadow work, it just completely transformed my life. And I've been able to really embrace pleasure and just enjoying my womanhood and enjoying my sexuality to a different level. And it's still something that I'm working on. I actually read this book called Pussy. I'm not sure the author, I'll put it up on the screen. It was one of the first books that allowed me to start healing around my sexuality. Another thing that I started to talk about shamelessly is masturbating. Because how can you have sex with other people but not know what you like? Not have that relationship with yourself first. When you release the stigma around pleasuring yourself, I swear to God that shame is gonna melt away. Lastly, learning how to communicate during sex as well releases shame, because we have to be honest with our partners. We have to, again, tell them what we like, what we don't like. We have to normalize talking about sex. It is a way of pleasure, and pleasure is good. Currently editing this, and I just want to add that pleasure is deeply healing and can be used to transform your life. And sex and self-pleasure are only just a few ways to access and tap into pleasure, but you can incorporate the practices of prioritizing pleasure in your daily routines and in a variety of different ways in your life. I'm very sex positive, and I'm just all about destigmatizing our beliefs that might not even be our own around sex. I invite you to just question why you might believe the things that you do about sex and to continue to just be curious. One thing that I wish I knew earlier on to build confidence was to realize that nobody fucking cares. When you go to the gym, a lot of people might be looking around. They might look at you for a split second, but it's only a split second before they turn around and look at themselves in the mirror and see how their form is. You might catch somebody's attention for half a second before they're back to thinking about themselves. Just think about it in terms of yourself. How much of your time do you spend thinking about other people? Or are you thinking about other people's perception of you? Chances are you're probably just thinking about yourself. That's the case for 95% of other people. They're not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves. So the sooner you realize that nobody cares what you're wearing, nobody cares what you're doing, is the sooner you'll be able to just be authentically yourself. Because you could literally go out right now, right in the street, and scream something stupid. People would look at you for 5 seconds and then they would keep on with their day. What is holding you back from being yourself? That is one way that I've looked at confidence and has allowed me to become a more confident version of myself. But this other thing happened to me where I was out with my mom and I realized, wow, like my mom, she's just one of those people who's loudmouthed, who is unafraid of like everyone. And I realized I just need to be delusionally confident and unapologetic like my mom. I don't know if that's the case for other people, but I swear to God, my mom has no fear. And honestly, that's the energy that I want to embody. The last thing that I wish I knew when going into my healing journey is that I would want myself to take more photos and videos of myself. There is a quote, and I'm gonna pull it up. The quote is from Schitt's Creek. One of the characters, Moira, says, "Take 1,000 naked pictures of yourself now. You may currently think, oh, I'm too spooky, or nobody wants to see these tiny boobies. But believe me, one day you will look at those photos with much kinder eyes." When I look at photos for myself, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I always look at myself with admiration and with just like respect for where I was in life. And I usually be like, oh my God, I was so pretty. But in those moments, I was putting myself down. I was talking to myself negative. I have struggled with so much insecurity throughout my life. But whenever I look at older photos of myself, I never feel that insecurity. Like, I just see somebody who's beautiful, who is strong. That's the way you should think of yourself now. But if you're feeling insecurity, I just want you to know that in a year's time, in 6 months' time, you are not gonna feel that way when you see photos and videos of yourself. And when you get even older, you're gonna wanna see that version of yourself documented. Documenting my life in my healing journey has been so amazing because I'm able to see how much I've grown, like I mentioned earlier with my YouTube videos. But even just like going through photos and videos, and seeing how much I've changed, it's just so special to have. And I wouldn't want to deprive myself of that because I'm afraid of how I look in the moment. Take lots and lots and lots of photos and videos of yourself. Remember, you're going to look at yourself in the future with much kinder eyes. So those are just some of the things that I wish I knew when I was starting my healing journey. Honestly, I could go on and on and on because I have learned so many lessons throughout the past 4 years. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you could relate to some of the things that I was talking about.